Hey, I'm Beckett from TennCom, and today we're talking about the V8 Blade 98. With the 16x19 version of this racket, Wilson has really made a conscious effort to make this thing easier to use. All of the big changes have been in that department, so we have got a slightly firmer layup of graphite going from Feel Flex to that 45-degree weave. I do actually kind of like that though. It's a throwback to like the ProStaff 85 and that Kevlar weave, so you are getting a pretty solid graphite feeling, good connection to the ball with this so-called tech. The next thing that has changed is the swing weight. That is, I think, the big story here, dropping from high 320s to about 317, and that really makes a huge difference in the blade. It almost changes this racket's identity. Decade and a half that the blade line has been on the market, we've seen it pretty much define the category of the modern player frame. 305 gram 98 square inch head with a slightly thinner beam than the tweener frames like a Pure Drive, but definitely thicker than like the Pro Staffs were or the Prestiges were. So without the blade, we wouldn't have, great rackets like the Babolat Pure Strike, the V-Core 98, and, the crowd favorite Izon 98 either. So let's get into my scores and we'll go through what those changes are going to mean for you on the court. So, energy potential. This thing is lower powered than the previous one. Yeah, they did increase the stiffness, but that significant decrease in swing weight had a huge impact on the potential energy. I felt like I was going to get pushed around when I was playing bigger hitters or really intense players because they can get on top of the ball that comes out of the Blade 98. A 317 swing weight is just not enough if you're in the NRTP 4.5 and up. It doesn't deliver enough topspin when you need it, and the ball just doesn't penetrate the court like it should, like previous blades would. That said, it does make it a lot easier to use. That low swing weight gives you so much more maneuverability and so much more accessibility for players who wouldn't have really been able to swing this blade as confidently as previous ones. So I'm giving the potential energy here a score of 109. Higher means more potential energy, better access to spin, and harder ball speed. Tied with the blade, I have the Prestige MP. That is the all red cosmetic one. A little bit higher is the Pro Staff 97 at 110. A little bit more potential energy due to that higher static weight. And finally, the Extreme Tour at 112. The potential energy there really comes from the more efficient beam design. I think that kind of triangular beam shape in the Extreme Tour, as well as the slightly higher stiffness, really give that racket a bit more punch than we're getting with the Blade 98. So next up, we've got string bed performance. Now this thing is a very solid all-arounder, as the Blade 98 16x19 has always been a great all-arounder. It's a pretty dense 16x19, so you do get great confidence and great consistency off that string bed. It makes it really easy to swing big and press your opponent, but you're not limited like you may be on tighter 18x20 patterns, because it is easy to put some arc on that ball. You can get that slightly higher launch angle if you adjust your swing path a little bit. So that's something I think is a great standout feature in this frame. So many different players are going to be able to get a lot out of this string bed. The impact feel is great. It's super consistent. It's awesome on slices. That lower launch angle really allows you to press, but that open pattern, I think, gives you a few extra RPMs, helping you knife that ball just a little bit harder. So string bed performance score for the Blade 98 16x19 at 94. A little bit lower than that, so a little bit more consistent feeling with a lower launch angle, is the Pro Staff 97 V13 at 92. Up from there is the Radical Pro at 96, and then a bit higher, so a bit higher of a launch angle and a bit spinnier, we're going with the Extreme Tour at 97. These are still all pretty control oriented though. And now on to weight distribution. Like we've been saying this whole time, The swing weight is way low, 317. That makes this thing feel really quick through the air. It's easy to set up quickly. They've moved that weight from the tip down into kind of the throat, the handle, 3 and 9 o'clock a little bit. So the racket does feel really stable, especially on more static shots like the volleys, service returns, and slices, like I said. So what I think is great here is it's super easy to get set up with that lower swing weight, and you can really trust the mass of the racket to put the ball back into the court. For me, it wasn't going as hard as I wanted it to go into the court, but every ball was coming back. I could really trust the frame to redirect pace. On returns, it was awesome. It was super stable. Even on off-center hits, that weight at 3 and 9 is really nicely placed there because it doesn't slow you down too much. Volleys, as long as you're set up in time, you can really trust the racket, hold it out, punch it deep, drop it short, whatever you want to do. Those things all combined with that great string pattern really give you so many options on every shot. I think that is another place this racket shines. So the score, you'll notice this thing is packed in with rackets that are notoriously easy to use. So weight distribution, 113. Down from there, we got the Babolat Pure Drive, a bit easier to use, more maneuverable at 110. Now super tight in. I think a crucial competitor here is the EZO 98 at 112. And then finally, the Wilson Ultra 100 at 115. So final thoughts. The Blade 98, much easier to use now. Wilson definitely succeeded in their goal. They've brought it down from being a competitor with like the Pure Strike, the Gravity Pro, the V-Core 98, and now it's more closely in line with like an EZO 98. Faster to swing, easier to use, excellent stability. I think where this thing stands out is in terms of feel and control. So it's gonna probably give best in class control. If you're not that comfortable with something heavier, but you find yourself missing out a lot, maybe you're shredded but you're kind of bad at tennis, this is going to be perfect for you. But if you're a user of previous blades and you like that heftier feel, I don't think you're going to get a lot out of the V8 blade. So I think that's where Wilson has kind of let a bit of their customer base down.